Part 45. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 442. Chapter 439, Spirits of All Things. The door of the front hall was also very tall and was made of the same material as the previous door. Wu Yu went forward first and pushed the door of the front hall with all his strength. This door was a little easier. After pushing a gap, he saw that it was pitch black inside and silent. Since the devouring demon ancestor was not in the front hall, the two of them did not worry too much and went in directly. The front hall was large and empty. The flames in Wu Yu's eyes burned, and suddenly made this extremely empty hall become bright. Under the burning light of the fire, the entire front hall looked very simple and desolate. But a closer look revealed that whether it was the tables and chairs, stone slabs, or walls and candlesticks, they were all made of rare materials, and there were traces of magic arrays drawn on them. It was even possible that this entire devouring demon ancestor was once a Taoist artifact, or even more than that. Of course, now that the magic array has disappeared, it is estimated that even the materials that once had spiritual patterns have been damaged, and the devouring heaven demon mansion is just a huge shell. Wu Yu saw at a glance that there was a gate leading to the main hall at the back of the front hall. If he went out from here and entered the main hall, he would probably find what Luo Bin wanted. He turned his head to look at Luo Bin, and sure enough, her eyes were looking straight at the door, and she was a little excited. Obviously, she felt the call of the treasure of the Shenlong clan again. "Let's go." Luo Bin set off, and Wu Yu followed her closely. Just after a few steps, in this instant, a feeling of danger came. Wu Yu and Luo Bin felt it almost at the same time, and the two of them stopped immediately, and leaned their backs together very tacitly. Wu Yu's eyes spurted out several balls of flames, and the flames condensed into a ball. In a very short time, the entire front hall was burned as bright as day. At this moment, every detail of the front hall was clear, and the terrifying threat still existed, but neither of them could see anything. "What is that?" Wu Yu glanced around. This heaven-devouring demon mansion was too weird. Even though the front hall was bright at this time, it still gave people a creepy feeling. At the moment when Wu Yu and the others were confused, the dangerous atmosphere around them became clear. They could see that thousands of dense green light spots suddenly appeared around them. The green light spots expanded rapidly and finally became about the size of an ordinary person's head. These thousands of green light balls appeared strangely in front of the two people. This kind of green color really makes people feel terrified. If Wu Yu was not bright, it is estimated that these thousands of green light balls would be more conspicuous in the dark. Before I came in, I didn't feel their presence at all. They seemed to have suddenly appeared. "What is this?" Wu Yu had no knowledge. This question was asked to Luo Bin, and also asked Ming Long by the way. When he just spoke, it seemed that two eyes and a mouth appeared on each green light ball. The eyes were actually where the green light was darker, and the mouth was sunken. To be honest, this look was a little cute, but the two of them still felt deeply threatened. Luo Bin looked surprised and said in a low voice, "This should be the God of all things. Only the God of all things can be born in this closed place and survive without any spiritual energy from heaven and earth." Wu Yu heard the name God of all things for the first time. "What is the God of all things?" he asked while staring at these little green monsters. Luo Bin said, "It is a creature that is neither human nor demon or fairy beast. It is neither human nor beast. It is born from heaven and earth. It cannot reproduce. It can be passed down and received. It has different forms. Everything is possible. For example, the one in front of you should be the green light among the gods of all things. They were born directly between heaven and earth under a special situation. Some are very weak and pose no threat, while some even have monstrous power. For example, we generally believe that the existence of demon ancestor devouring the sky was born directly from heaven and earth. This is the God of all things. Whether it is a cultivator or a ghost cultivator, they are all human. And demons are even more numerous. All creatures in the mortal world except humans, such as fish and shrimps in rivers and seas, beasts in forests, flying insects, flying birds, etc., become demons when their spiritual wisdom is awakened. Even the spiritual wisdom of plants and trees with blood is also considered a demon. Only the gods of all things were born out of thin air between heaven and earth. Their biggest feature is that they have no father or mother, and they come in various forms. For example, the green light in front of us is just a ball of light, but it seems to have intelligence, and has very strong power and lethality, but it does not have the realm of humans or demons. This is the gods of all things. Ming Long also said, "That's right, in this closed world, it is impossible for anyone to pass on their family line here. Obviously, these creatures are very rare gods of all things. Moreover, you appear in their territory, I believe, they will be very angry." Just as Ming Long said, now these gods of all things are very agitated. They surge around and even scream. Although they look cute, they stare at Wu Yu and Luo Ben fiercely. They dispersed and completely surrounded the two at this time, especially the two bronze gates in front and behind, which guarded many green lights. They have no meridians and no dantian, so it is difficult to grasp the life mode of these creatures, but just like the ancient souls of Yanhuang, they also rely on a yellowish-brown light to possess the power of fighting. "Everyone, we too accidentally strayed into your territory. Can you let us leave?" Wu Yu asked sincerely. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Unexpectedly, Luo Ben couldn't help but chuckle and said, "They are like little beasts and don't understand what you say. So that's it?" But in fact, the two were not at ease. At this time, the green light seemed very agitated. When it blocked the direction of Wu Yu and the others' departure, it actually began to surround them, getting closer and closer. Green flames began to burn on its body, and it can be seen that its speed of movement is quite fast. Green light, there is only one way to attack, that is, collision, but don't underestimate this collision. Although I haven't seen it, it is said that they can crash through anything and kill people. Their bodies are a kind of attack. Luo Ben had just finished reminding, perhaps it was a test, and suddenly, there was a flash of green light. The speed of the collision was indeed terrifying, and it arrived in the blink of an eye. A flash of green light in front of my eyes. In such a short time, Wu Yu reacted quickly, and the Yanhuang Optimus Prime suddenly appeared in his hand. He swung it violently, and the Yanhuang Optimus Prime made a buzzing sound. In a very short moment, it collided directly with the green light, and burst out with a bang. It is undeniable that Wu Yu actually felt a numbness in his arm. If he did not intercept it, even with his indestructible body, he would probably be injured. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The green light was pulled by Wu Yu and flew out. It seemed to be smaller, but it was not dead. It just seemed a little weaker, but it seemed to be shouting more fiercely. For a while, under his lead, thousands of green lights screamed at the same time, making a harsh sound for a while. "Be careful!" Luo Ben shouted. Suddenly, those thousands of green lights actually hit Wu Yu and Luo Ben at the same time. Just now, it was not easy to deal with one green light, let alone thousands of them now. Although there were too many green lights, the number that rushed to the front at the same time was limited, but no matter what, it was quite terrifying. Wu Yu had not faced such a huge crisis for a long time. "Don't show mercy," Luo Ben also reminded him. It was obvious that if he didn't attack with enough power at this time, he might die directly under the continuous impact of the green light. The impact of the green light was too dense, and Wu Yu didn't know what to do for a while. He held the Yanhuang Optimus Prime with both hands and activated the magic circle. At once, the Yan Emperor Kaishan formation burst out, and suddenly swept around. The surging golden flames swept around in an instant. More than 900 magic circles were running wildly. With a stick sweeping, at least dozens of green lights were blown away in a blink of an eye, but at the same time, there were also green lights rushing from the top and the bottom, directly hitting Wu Yu's head and calves. Puff! If Wu Yu's calf was pierced by the sword, blood would immediately spurt out. Not to mention the top of his head, which was hit by several green lights at the same time and almost split open. At least blood was flowing all over the place. The whole person was dizzy and almost couldn't stand steadily. This was just a round of impact, and it almost took Wu Yu's life. This god of all things was really crazy. In a short period of time, Wu Yu didn't even have time to care about Luo Bin's situation. Now even he was in a life and death moment. All he could do was to stay awake in the severe pain. Extra-legal clone. In an instant, hundreds of clones gathered around his body, squeezing the green light away. Each of them held a super-spiritual magic sword in his hand. Annihilation Beast soul-shaking technique. Hundreds of clones and Wu Yu, just when the second wave of green light was about to hit, punched at the same time. Buzz. A loud bang. Hundreds of torrents overlapped and rushed out, causing hundreds of green lights to scream and retreat. The light on their bodies was reduced a lot. Obviously, the attack of the soul-shaking technique of the Annihilation Beast was effective on them, which showed that their life forms also had a certain soul. However, it only made hundreds of green lights retreat temporarily, but there were thousands of them. At least 2,000 of them surrounded Wu Yu and cut him and Luo Bin apart. Now Wu Yu was still bleeding all over, and the green light on his body was flashing. The green light remaining on his body was still like a sword, drilling into his body like crazy. I didn't expect this seemingly cute creature to be so terrible. Hundreds of clones, after performing the Annihilation Beast's soul-shaking technique, at least 10 were destroyed, and the next wave of attacks came immediately. Wu Yu gritted his teeth, then gritted his teeth again, and performed the Beast Annihilation soul-shaking technique in unison. There were a few loud buzzing sounds, and for a moment, many green lights retreated again, but they lost at least 10 clones, and those green lights did not die in the battle. If this continued, he and Luo Bin would not be able to hold on. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 443. Wu Yu's first thought was to break through the encirclement, rush out with Luo Bin, and rush to the main hall. However, it is obvious that these green lights will chase them away, so even if they go out, they will not be of much use. The only possibility is that the space outside will be larger for better performance, but facing this terrifying green light, this advantage is not enough for Wu Yu and Luo Bin to defeat them. Only by returning to the original path and quickly using the key to leave here will there be a way to survive. However, at this time, he didn't even have time to communicate with Luo Bin. He was probably using the Annihilation Beast's soul-shaking technique to save his life a little, but he had already noticed that Luo Bin had been forced to separate from him and was knocked close to the back door of the front hall. Location. She could try to rush out of the back door, but obviously Lu Mang would also chase her out. Moreover, a large number of green lights gathered near the front and back doors. What should I do? Wu Yu was extremely anxious. In an instant, at least 2,000 green lights surrounded Wu Yu again. They quickly rotated around Wu Yu, pulling out green light, like a green whirlpool surrounding Wu Yu. Buzz. Another large amount of green light, like poisonous arrows, pierced towards Wu Yu in waves. Bang bang bang. Wu Yu's clones all surrounded him in the middle, and used all their strength to perform the Annihilation Beast's soul-shaking technique uniformly. However, the green light's attacks came one after another without stopping at all. Although every time he was attacked, it can be a little darker, but it is obvious that two fists are difficult to defeat four hands. Looking at this situation, even if Wu Yu is exhausted, it is estimated that Lu Mang will lose less than a few hundred. The opponent's strong and sharp impact gave Wu Yu no time to rest. Even later, he was unable to grasp Luo Bin's position, life, and death. He knew that even Luo Bin was struggling at this time. Bang bang. At this time, more than 50 clones were directly torn apart, and less than 50 were left. The Annihilation Beast soul-shaking technique performed at the same time was not as good as before, so the more clones were torn apart in the same time, even Wu Yu's body was torn apart. The incoming green light hit him again. At this time, he was covered in green light and was charging. He had transformed into an immortal ape transformation. His physical defense was stronger, but it could not be blocked. As for the Yanhuang immortal armor, it had already been there. The first time the opponent hit, he was torn into pieces. On the other side, Luo Bin was probably the same. However, at least she would not be like Wu Yu now, covered in blood. In fact, not to mention Wu Yu, even if there were many commanders here, they might just let the green light penetrate their bodies and die at this time. Wu Yu had a certain physical advantage that prevented him from dying. All gods are so terrifying. In the blink of an eye, seeing the crazy, dense, and screaming green light all around him, Wu Yu smelled the smell of death. Boom boom boom. Another wave of attacks came quickly and violently, and now the clones could not stop them at all. Under this impact, Wu Yu felt that his life was lost here. It's not that he doesn't want to escape. Firstly, Luo Bin has been knocked far away. It would be difficult for her to come to the front door of the front hall. Secondly, Wu Yu alone would probably not be able to get back to the entrance, and he would also directly dead. A critical moment. In the face of this death, Wu Yu was still calm. He had a flash of inspiration and thought that these were the gods of all things. There seemed to be no difference in realm. He was ready to fight to the death. He activated the long-lost body fixation technique. Blow it out in one breath. With his current understanding of the body holding technique, it has been a long time since he used it, so the possibility of success is still very high. Unexpectedly, he was really frozen, and it was very effective. Hundreds of green lights in front of him suddenly stopped moving. But it was only a few hundred. After these hundreds of green lights, there were thousands of green lights. Therefore, after that, the thousands of green lights roared and charged. For a while, Wu Yu faced the threat of death again, and this time the situation was even worse. At least Wu Yu couldn't use the holding technique at the same time to hold down so many green lights. At this moment, he was exhausted, but the green light's charge was the most brutal. At the last moment, Wu Yu saw the desire to kill Wu Yu in the eyes of these strange creatures. Maybe they hadn't seen anyone for too long, and in other words, they have never seen other living beings before, so they are so excited at this moment. At least, these green lights should have been born in the heaven-devouring demon palace after the key to the heaven-devouring demon palace was lost. Are you going to die here? Wu Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly, mainly because he was too unwilling. Before entering the Yanhuang ancient well, he never thought that he would die in battle. After all, he still had one inner demon that he had not fulfilled. The agreement between him and Baishan Emo was actually not just his agreement with Baishan Emo, was his agreement with Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan Immortal Gate, the place where the dream of cultivating immortals set sail, where Wu Yu has too many memories. He is not willing to end it like this. Now he dreams of going back one day and ending the humiliation of that day one by one. Life and death are impermanent. Life is like this, there are always some things that we want to complete, but maybe it is fate, but it is blocked here. When countless green lights, like thousands of arrows shot out in unison, pierced through his body in an instant, Wu Yu once again felt despair about life and cultivation. In fact, it was not all smooth sailing for him to grow up to this point. Death crisis will never come because of his talent. Many times, Wu Yu knew better that he needed to experience life and death in order to have a greater destiny. Even if he received the inheritance of an immortal, it would be of no use if everything went smoothly. Still need to struggle between life and death. Wu Yu understood the reason, but the problem was that the heavens did not give him this opportunity. This green light without much intelligence would not give Wu Yu a chance to negotiate. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. He roared, bursting out the anger in his chest at the moment. In fact, he clearly felt that before the life and death crisis at this moment, he touched the edge of the purple mansion Kanghai realm, and that brand new realm was waving at him. New magical powers and new 72 transformations were all waiting for him, but the rush of the green light in front of him was the insurmountable gap in his life. At the last moment, he glanced at Luo Bin. In the blur, the Yanhuang immortal armor on Luo Bin was torn, and for a moment, the blood-stained snow-white hair rolled up. Indistinctly, Wu Yu saw a stunning face. The face was not clear, but it was suffocating. The snow-white hair was like glacier snow. Surrounded by countless green rays, her blue eyes and Wu Yu's golden eyes looked at each other. This was another unforgettable scene in Wu Yu's life. Women in the world can be so beautiful. Before dying, I can still vaguely see her appearance, and it seems that I don't blame her. Maybe it was this look that hit the heart a little bit. Between life and death, Wu Yu felt a little ridiculous. It turned out that the one who really lived and died with him was not Nangongwei who had sworn to him, but Luo Bin, who was now in the devouring heaven demon mansion, with white hair flying and a calm face. Once, Nangongwei shyly handed over the 9-sided demon pillar to Wu Yu in front of the Heart Sword prison, which became an unforgettable scene in Wu Yu's life. But now, another scene made him thrilling. At this moment, the body of the most beautiful woman in the world suddenly changed. Her azure eyes were always looking at Wu Yu, but in an instant, she changed from a human to a legendary dragon. It was a snow-white dragon. Suddenly, it was just a glimpse, but it was unintentionally the most perfect creature Wu Yu had seen in his life. The crystal dragon horns, the dragon scales like gems and pearls, the slender dragon body, the azure mysterious dragon eyes, everything is like a pearl in the dark night. According to legend, the dragon has 9 likes, horns like a deer, head like a camel, eyes like a rabbit, neck like a snake, belly like a clam, scales like a fish, claws like an eagle, paws like a tiger, ears like a cow. This dragon in front of him is just like this. Wu Yu was born in the palace, so he naturally saw countless dragon totems and had infinite imagination about dragons. However, when he took a glimpse and saw the dragon in front of him, his mind was still blank. Unexpectedly, this holy fairy beast. It is even more exquisite than he imagined. This is simply the most beautiful art in the creation of heaven and earth. Such a creature gathers domineering, wisdom, mystery and combat power into one, especially the dragon transformed by Luo Bin, like a god in the sea, with a body length of hundreds of feet. Although it is not as huge as the candle dragon, no matter what aspect, the candle dragon cannot compare with it. This picture of turning into a dragon is deeply engraved in Wu Yu's heart, and I am afraid he will never forget it in this life. It's so damn beautiful. As a woman, I envy it too. Lian Minglong didn't have time to care about Wu Yu's life and death at this time, and stared blankly at Luo Bin turning into a dragon. To be honest, when Wu Yu saw the dragon, he forgot about his life and death for a moment, until the pain of the green light hitting his body woke him up again. Death is here. The moment of mental tension. Suddenly, the dense green light in front of him suddenly turned into an ice-blue ice sculpture. Wu Yu was not dead. In the pain, he was shocked to see that thousands of green lights in front of him suddenly froze with ice. They turned into ice sculptures and fell to the ground. Although his body was stinging, he looked around and saw ice sculptures all over the ground. The green light in the front hall seemed to have disappeared. Wu Yu counted them and found that there were at least thousands of green lights on the ground. The green light in the ice sculpture quickly dimmed. It seemed that it took only about 10 breaths for the green light in the ice sculpture to completely dim, as if it was dead. As for whether it was dead or not, Wu Yu didn't know. He woke up in shock. Turning back, he saw that the dragon had disappeared. Only that woman was so beautiful that she could overwhelm the country. Sorry for being a little late lately, I will update earlier tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 444. Lupin turned into a dragon, and in just a moment, she used her life-defying magical power. These thousands of spirits of all things finally dissipated. It was unknown whether they were dead or frozen. Anyway, now there were only ice crystals all over the ground, but no green light. This encounter was extremely thrilling. Wu Yu also escaped from the critical moment of life and death again. Of course, this time he had to thank Lupin for saving him by turning into a dragon. At this moment, he turned around and saw that it was pitch black all around. In the darkness, Lupin's tall and delicate body fell lightly to the ground, and her snow-white long hair glowed with light, like a dream. Wu Yu's flesh and blood body was now recovering rapidly. After being hit by several green lights, he finally recovered a little and his vision became clear. His eyes, burning with golden flames, fell on Luo Bin. Luo Bin's Xuanhuan immortal armor had been destroyed long ago, and now her delicate body was covered with water blue ice crystals, making her look like a fairy walking out of the ice. Under the ice crystals, you can vaguely see the dragon scales on her skin, which are hidden under her skin. For a moment, Wu Yu saw her perfect. However, the ice crystal disappeared immediately afterwards. After the Xuanhuan immortal armor disappeared, Luo Bin changed her dress and gently fell to the ground. After all, the Xuanhuan immortal armor was gone, and she had turned into a dragon in front of Wu Yu, so there was no need to hide herself in front of Wu Yu. In fact, she had not shown up all the time, just because she was worried that her appearance would attract attention during her hibernation in Xuanhuan Emperor City. In this regard, she was successful. At least before Yanzhan, not many people paid attention to her. At this time, what appeared in front of Wu Yu was her original appearance. Obviously, it was because of her extraordinary appearance and temperament that she could easily become the focus that she hid. Wu Yu's eyes were burning. The woman in front of him, with her snow-white fluorescent hair and deep blue eyes, remained unchanged. The rest of her beautiful nose, red lips, and cheeks were even more perfect than Wu Yu had imagined. However, when all of them were put together, Wu Yu would ignore her eyes and be shocked by her overall temperament. There is no doubt that her beauty is beyond mortals. She is a fairy beast, a dragon. Even if she turned into a human form, it was incredible at this time. In fact, the essence of mortal women, regardless of their figure and appearance, is not far apart. Among the cultivators, many women belong to the top stream, and the temperament formed by their cultivation, bloodline, and their own Tao is the real capital to distinguish the superior from the inferior. For example, Nangang Wei is gifted and elegant. She has been training in the Samsara cave for several years. She is arrogant and has a kind of awe-inspiring temperament. At the same age, no one in the entire Shushan can match her. Besides, Qin Fu Hui is also a natural talent, and she has inherited the divine wind Taoist Ji. She is naturally charming and has a delicate figure. It is not an exaggeration to call her a beauty of the generation. But after all, they are just ordinary practitioners. Even if they are at the age of peerless beauty, they are inferior in front of Luo Bin now, because she is a fairy beast, a dragon, and a dragon with noble blood. Her appearance itself has a supreme and noble temperament. Coupled with her own Taoism, whether it is her eyes or her demeanor, she is like a fairy, transcendent, just like a fairy who does not eat fireworks in the world, like a banished fairy. In front of Wu Yu, she is like the emperor of the sea, but there is a hint of gentleness and depth. This is her easy to approach side, and it is also the side that makes people feel her gentleness. When the watery eyes fall on Wu Yu, there is indeed a feeling of returning to the harbor, as if all his thoughts cannot escape her eyes, and she can always look at it all gently. The sea blue dress and snow white hair brought out the feminine posture of concubine Luo to the fullest, which made Wu Yu feel that she was like the most beautiful work of art in the world, which was forbidden to be defiled by all mortals. Wu Yu. Such a moving beauty, coupled with such a beautiful and gentle voice, and such a melting gaze, made Wu Yu forget for a moment that this was still the heaven-devouring demon palace. Until concubine Luo fell to the ground and was a little unstable. Wu Yu saw that she was about to fall, and his heart was about to jump out. He hurried forward, and when he was hesitating whether to support her, concubine Luo barely stood firm. To be honest, Wu Yu didn't dare to approach her or touch her now. After all, there was always a feeling of inferiority, although his appearance was not bad at all. A closer look revealed that concubine Luo was in a very bad state. Her face quickly turned pale, her eyes were dull, and she looked extremely weak. Even her skin seemed to be gradually losing its luster. She was about to fall. Seeing her so weak, Wu Yu could not hesitate. He went forward to support concubine Luo. It was impossible for him not to feel emotional when he embraced such a beautiful woman like a fairy. But thinking of the gap between him and her, and that he had no such thoughts, he calmed down a little and forced himself to try not to think about love in front of the road. Oh, I hugged her. What are you going to do next? Little bastard, you have to think clearly. She might be quite old. Do you feel good when an old cow eats your tender grass? Ming Long suddenly said, which scared Wu Yu. Wu Yu ignored her. He realized that concubine Luo was already ravaged by the heavenly tribulation. In order to defeat Lu Mang just now, she was in a hurry to save Wu Yu's life. Obviously, she used a relatively extreme force, and even turned into a dragon. Before that, we should be counterattacked by the power of heavenly calamity, and the situation is probably very dangerous. Sorry, I didn't tell you that I'm from the Shenlong clan. You must have heard of it. When she was weak, Luo Ben forced her eyes to look at him, and said in a confused state. Seeing her like this, Wu Yu couldn't help but feel distressed. It doesn't matter. I have long guessed that your origin is extraordinary, but I didn't expect it to be so shocking. Of course I have heard of Shenlong. I grew up in the mortal palace. For Wu Yu, a mortal, Shenlong is the supreme belief. I never dreamed that I would be able to see Shenlong in this life, and even talk to Shenlong, Wu Yu said cleverly. Now, he doesn't have to hide the fact that he knows that Luo Ben is a Shenlong. Lupin smiled weakly, her red lips slightly parted, and said, You are quite courageous. There are not many people who can remain so calm after seeing my true form. Wu Yu helped her up and looked down at her fairy-like face. It was indeed easy to be obsessed and lost in thought. He calmed down and asked hurriedly, considering the current situation, how are you now? Can you still go to the main hall? Lupin frowned, calmed down, and said, because of the dragon transformation, a lot of my own strength was consumed, so I was suppressed by the previous injury. My physical condition is indeed very bad now. I may have no problem moving after a rest. But I definitely can't do it, and I'm afraid I can't hold on for much longer. Please help me get the inheritance of my clan as soon as possible. Wu Yu, thank you very much for coming here with me. Don't say that. I have to thank you for saving me just now. How about this, I'll carry you to the main hall. Yes, Luo Ben was generous, and Wu Yu carried her on his back. Her situation was really bad now. It can be seen that she was fighting fiercely with the power of the heavenly tribulation. Going to the main hall here may not be without other dangers, so Wu Yu tied her to his side for safety. After all, She probably couldn't participate in the battle from now on. Her delicate body was very soft, and she was carried on his back, and the skin contact made Wu Yu's heart beat faster. Luo Bin's face was leaning on his shoulder. At this time, she had closed her eyes. If she fell asleep, she should be relieved to hand herself over to Wu Yu, and she would do her best to fight for a glimmer of life. She is generous and decent, with no distractions. I should stop thinking about these useless things. Hurry up and help her find her things and save her life. Thinking of this, he carried Lupin on his back. Because he had encountered the green light, he was very cautious this time and quietly went to the back door of the front hall. There was no threat in the front hall. He went to the back door, holding Lupin's soft body with one hand, and looked back at the breathtakingly beautiful face on his shoulder. Wu Yu felt a sense of mission in his heart. He pushed open the back door, which was also 100 feet high. After confirming that there seemed to be no danger behind, he walked into the middle courtyard for about a quarter of an hour. There is also a courtyard between the front hall and the main hall. Although it is a courtyard, it is also extremely vast. At the end, there is an ancient black palace that is more than twice as tall as the front hall. That is the main hall. The place where the 3 eras killing array is sealed, and the place where the devouring demon ancestor died. Wu Yu looked up at the ancient black palace, and a chill first arose in his heart. If this palace was a huge beast head, then the door of the main hall was like the mouth of the beast. The blood-red windows on both sides were like eyes. When Wu Yu walked out of the front hall, he even felt that this pair of eyes was looking at and examining him, and he had a creepy feeling. Before coming to the main hall, the unconscious Luo Bin was a little more energetic. Although she still closed her eyes, she still said, "I feel that our original dragon scale is in this main hall, Wu Yu, please." It turned out that the treasure of her tribe was called the original dragon scale. Before, in the ancient city of Yanhuang Ancient Well, she did not say the name, but at this time, it seemed that she had nothing to hide from Wu Yu. When she looked back, she actually saw a trace of blood flowing out of the corner of her mouth. In fact, Wu Yu was carrying her on his back and could slightly feel the thrilling fight going on inside her body. It was as if there was a world inside. At this moment, Luo Bin was losing step by step. From the outside, she looked intact, but in fact, her flesh, bones, internal organs, even her soul and spiritual world, were all ravaged by the terrifying power of the heavenly calamity. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 445. Wu Yu reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Luo Bin still closed her eyes, but she should have felt it. "I'll take you in now," Wu Yu said, and then he quickly started to move towards the door of the main hall. At the same time, he was always alert to the movements around him. Logically speaking, the battle was so fierce just now. If there were any gods like Green Mang outside, they should have broken into the front hall to join the battle. So this courtyard should be safe. As Wu Yu got closer and closer to the main hall, he felt like he was being stared at by a giant beast as huge as the sky and the earth. So he communicated with Ming Long in private. "This main hall also looks very dilapidated. At least I can't feel the breath of the 3 epochs killing formation and the devouring demon ancestor. It should be certain that both the formation set by the immortal and the devouring demon ancestor have completely dissipated and turned to ashes." Ming Long smacked his lips and said, "Don't worry. The immortals in the heavenly court are definitely more careful than you. They are sure to use the 3 epochs killing formation to deal with the devouring demon ancestor. According to reason, the devouring demon ancestor can't hold out for even 1 yuan of time. If the 3 epochs killing formation still exists, you can't even enter the main hall. If the devouring demon ancestor is not dead, it goes without saying that he has left here long ago. After all, the devouring demon ancestor is his territory." What Ming Long said makes sense. Carefully observing the main hall, from the traces of time on it, it can be seen that there has indeed been no movement here for a long time. This devouring demon ancestor is almost the god of all things 600,000 years ago. Even immortals may not be able to exist for such a long time, let alone it under the three epochs killing formation. Of course, Wu Yu was still on guard. Soon he appeared in front of the door of the main hall. In front of him were two bronze doors similar to the front hall door, but even larger, a full 200 feet. You can't even see it all from here, let alone the top of the palace that is completely hidden in the darkness. The original dragon scale is inside, please trouble you. In addition, I can be sure that the three epochs killing formation and the devouring demon ancestor inside have long since disappeared, and it is empty, Luo Bin whispered in his ear. Although she was weak, her voice was still beautiful. Leave it to me. After the life and death battle in the front hall, Wu Yu still needs some preparation to enter the main hall. For the time being, the courtyard is safe, so he thought about it, first put Luo Bin down, helped her, and let her sit on the ground. Luo Bin opened her eyes at this time, her eyes were dim, and she let Wu Yu arrange it. She kept looking at Wu Yu and suddenly said, I found that although you are young, you are very good. Very good, this is the highest level of praise from Luo Bin, which means that she has a good impression of Wu Yu. It is also lucky to get the favor of a dragon. Wu Yu smiled and nodded, asking her to wait for a while. He was very decisive in doing things. Since he decided, he did not hesitate. At this time, he turned directly to the huge door of the main hall. He had a slight hunch that the door of the main hall must be quite difficult to push. After all, the weight is estimated to be several times that of the previous one, but it should not be a difficult task. When he stood in front of the door and put his hand on the door, he exerted a little force and found that this door was much heavier than the one in the front hall. At least, under his force, there was no movement at all. Wu Yu directly transformed into a fairy ape, and his physical strength increased greatly. At this time, Luo Bin was looking at him expectantly, so he couldn't be timid at this time. He mustered up his strength and burst out all the strength of his flesh and blood, plus the almost perfect Dan Yuan now, all infused into his arms. At this moment, he roared and pushed the door of the main hall suddenly. Soon, Wu Yu's veins burst. Next, he was dumbfounded, because he almost used all his strength to push this door, but it was only a little bit, and he couldn't make a gap for him to enter. The reason was that the gate behind the bronze door was closed, and it should be locked from the inside. Wu Yu flew into the air and looked into the crack of the door from the center of the door. He could see that a small part was connected with two doors, which was the place where it was locked. After pushing it a few more times, the door shook strongly, but it was locked. Unless it was opened from the inside, there was no way to get in. Wu Yu looked at other places. Whether it was the windows or the dark walls, although they were old, they were still very solid. He used the Xuanhuan Optimus Prime to hit them several times, but there was no trace left. Just imagine that this was the former residence of the devouring heaven demon mansion. Wu Yu's current cultivation was simply insignificant to the devouring heaven demon ancestor. How could he break through the wall of the main hall or the closed window to get in? After he fell down, because he was a little anxious, he used the Xuanhuan Optimus Prime to hit the bronze door several times. The bronze door made a harsh roar and shook, but because the door valve was closed, there was still no way to open a crack to get in. The crack of the 200 feet high door was so tight. Even Wu Yu wanted to try to use violent magic to attack, but when he calmed down and thought, even if the Xuanhuan city lord came, he might not be able to break the bronze door and rush in, let alone himself. He had no choice but to come back, and Lupin also saw it all. She smiled bitterly and said sadly, maybe God wants to kill me. I finally found this place, but I didn't expect this door to be closed. She actually knew in her heart that the door was closed, which basically announced her death sentence. She actually knew in her heart that even when she was in her prime, She might not be able to get in. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Maybe it's because the gods are closing it like this that they don't want idlers to enter? Forgot what I said. You can't give up until the last moment. Wu Yu stretched out his hand and patted her shoulder gently. The courtyard was really too big. Wu Yu took the initiative this time and carried her on his back again. And then around the side of the courtyard close to the main hall, walking around, observing, and searching. It is unlikely that there is any other way here. It is God's blessing that we have reached this point. Luo Bin's voice was very low. After all, she was about to face inevitable death. The ascetics are just afraid of death. It is very likely that the higher the realm, the more afraid they are. In this regard, they may not be as down to earth as ordinary people. Moreover, she almost succeeded. Stop talking. Wu Yu was anxious, and his tone was a little colder, and he directly interrupted Luo Bin's words, which made Luo Bin look at him in confusion. Maybe she thought that maybe it was just a chance encounter, but Wu Yu seemed to treat your own life and death as a very important matter. Wu Yu is indeed unwilling. He was about to succeed, even passing the Lumang test. If he had to watch her die, he felt that it would be a stimulus to him. He searched everywhere, not even missing a single bit of wall. He was thinking that even if a miracle happened, it might be possible that there would be an opening somewhere in the main hall. But after walking around the main hall, he found that this idea seemed a bit naive. Luo Bin stared at his side face from behind and said in a daze, "In my memory, it was only when I was very young that my father turned his back on me like this." Wu Yu looked back at her. In fact, he had given up. But when he heard these words and saw her haggard face, he gritted his teeth and continued walking, looking around and checking. He decided not to destroy the courtyard. He wouldn't stop until it was thoroughly turned over. Seeing this little man who was much younger than herself, Luo Bin couldn't help but smile. She couldn't help but tighten her arm around Wu Yu's neck, and her cheek rested on Wu Yu's back. Remembering. Oops. Wu Yu suddenly stopped. In front of me is a black wall. This is not the wall of the main hall, but the wall between the middle courtyard and the apse courtyard. If you can pass through this wall, behind it is the courtyard of the apse. The courtyard where Wu Yu is currently located connects the front hall and the main hall, and the opposite courtyard connects the main hall and the back hall. Wu Yu just refused to give up before and refused to give in. He never expected that after searching everywhere, he actually found an incredible hope. There was a gap in the wall in front of him. The gap was not big, but it was enough for dozens of him to rush through at the same time. Standing in front of this gap, you can see the appearance of the apse courtyard. The courtyard is as blank as the courtyard under Wu Yu's feet now. Concubine Luo, Wu Yu reminded her. In a daze, Luo Bin also saw this gap. Suddenly, she was saved from the desperate situation, and she became more radiant in her confusion. There are 2 doors in the front hall, and there must be 2 doors in the main hall. Now the front door of the main hall is closed, but the back door of the main hall may be open. In any case, it is a glimmer of hope. I will go through it immediately to take a look. Wu Yu couldn't wait. He wanted to know whether the back door of the main hall was closed. If it was not closed, then concubine Luo would really have survived from a desperate situation and her fate would have been reversed. This gap is not easy to find. It is in a dark corner and is in an impossible position. If Wu Yu hadn't given up, they might have missed it. Luo Bin's heart was tense. She didn't know how to express her gratitude to Wu Yu. She also looked at the gap in surprise. This was at least a glimmer of hope. But when she saw it, she looked away and quickly said to Wu Yu, "First, don't go there." Wu Yu almost rushed over. He quickly stopped and asked, "What's wrong?" Luo Bin said, "This gap has been filled by a magic circle." "You can't tell?" "I'm not sure what kind of magic circle this is. You may get hurt if you rush in hastily." Just wait. She took out an ordinary useless magic weapon from the Sumura bag, asked Wu Yu to stand farther away, and threw it towards the gap. The magic weapon passed through without any obstruction. Wu Yu was very happy, but Luo Bin frowned and said, "This is an interception array. It does not block ordinary things, but it may intercept lives." Upon hearing this, Wu Yu looked inside and saw a black demonic wolf lying on the ground deep in the back hall courtyard. Preview: try to update 5 times tomorrow. 2 updates today. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 446. Wu Yu is naturally far from being comparable to Luo Bin in terms of attainments in the magic array, so he has not noticed any movement of the magic array so far. He can't see the interception magic array in the sky above his head. This is probably not arranged by the Immortals, but must have been added by the defenders of Yanhuang Emperor City. However, Wu Yu saw the living black demon wolf clearly. The black demon wolf lay on the ground with its eyes closed and little movement, as if it was dead, but in fact it was not. Upon careful observation, you can see that the hair on its body is still trembling slightly. At the same time, standing in front of this black demon wolf, there is still a creepy feeling. He is alive. However, Wu Yu finds it incredible. How could this demon appear here? And is it imprisoned here? If it is not as expected, the magic array that Luo Bin mentioned should be used to intercept this black demon wolf. Luo Bin signaled him to be quiet, so as not to wake up the black demon wolf, but after thinking carefully, Wu Yu made such a big noise before, but he didn't wake up the black demon wolf, so it's estimated that the black demon wolf won't wake up so easily. Or, he can't hear the noise here. How could there be demons here? Although demons have been practicing for a longer time, the question is, how could demons get in here? Luo Bin shook her head and said, "This is not a demon, but a god of all things born from heaven and earth, but it looks like a demon. In fact, there are gods of all things that grow into human form, which is normal. But its essence is very different from demons. So that's it? It's still a god of all things. Then, it should be the former guardian of Yanhuang Emperor City, knowing that gods of all things are often born here, so he set up a magic circle here to intercept living beings. Wu Yu could only guess like this. Indeed, the probability of the birth of gods of all things in this devouring heaven demon mansion is a bit high. The birth of 2 gods of all things in one place can only be said to be because there are special circumstances in this place. Maybe it's because the devouring demon ancestor existed. It should be like this. Luo Bin stared at the magic circle in front of her. She was a little more awake at this time. She observed it for about a quarter of an hour, tested it several times, and then she came to a conclusion. This seems to be a single-sided soul-locking formation, which only blocks living beings, and it is a one-sided blockade. In short, we can penetrate this magic circle and enter it, but after entering, we can't get out. If there is no other way to get out, we may be trapped to death inside. This gap in the devouring demon mansion should be left by a war a long time ago. The Yanhuang city lords closed it like this, which should be the process of their garrison. The gods of all things also appeared in the back hall, so they directly sealed it up. The gods of all things can't get out and will naturally die inside. Why is it one-sided, instead of both sides? Wu Yu asked. Luo Bin shook her head and said, "Then I don't know. Maybe the person who set up the formation has limited attainments, or maybe there are other reasons. But it is obvious that you can't go in. Not only are there the spirits of all things inside, but there is also this single-sided soul-locking formation that allows you to go in but not out. If the back door of the main hall is closed, we will die in it." In such a place, the strange appearance of this single-sided soul-locking formation made Wu Yu a little depressed. The most depressed thing is the spirit of all things inside. This undoubtedly extinguished Wu Yu's newly ignited hope. How depressing. Wu Yu looked a little manic, and said, "Let's go in." At least there is a glimmer of hope. If we don't go in, there will be no hope at all. Luo Bin became serious and said, "This is absolutely not possible. I can't let you risk your life for me. If you want to go in, I will go in by myself. In the front hall, you are risking your life. Do you care about it?" Again, if he had to watch Luo Bin turn to ashes here, even as a friend, he couldn't stand by and watch. Luo Bin was more determined and said, "It won't work this time. If I have to go in and take risks, I will go in by myself. Now the God of all things is using sleep to prolong his life. After I go in, I may not alarm him. If the back door of the main hall is open, I can sneak in and succeed. If it is closed, there is no way. I can only say that my death is destined by heaven." She made a choice. With her personality, it is actually difficult to shake. She can't let Wu Yu risk his life for her again and again. Wu Yu thought for a moment and said, "Then let's go in together. It's also good to have someone to take care of us." "No. If I fail, you should just leave here and don't take risks." Luo Bin's tone was a little heavier, but in fact, she stared at Wu Yu with tears in her eyes, perhaps because she was moved by Wu Yu's perseverance. It was precisely because of this that she couldn't let Wu Yu's young life gamble with her life. "Wu Yu, thank you. I can only say that it is my blessing to have a friend like you who is so loyal to me at such a desperate moment." Luo Bin's eyes were as soft as water, covering her whole body. He took a deep breath. It seemed that he couldn't stop Luo Bin from taking risks. After Luo Bin made her decision, she asked Wu Yu to put her on the ground. Now she could barely stand steady, holding the wall, and prepared to pass through this single-sided soul-locking array. Wu Yu bit his lip and said, "Is there anything else I can help you with? Don't be polite to me, just say it." Lupin turned around, shook her head, and suddenly froze, saying, "Maybe, Hai Xi and Ling can protect me for a while. This is a Taoist weapon that focuses on defense, and I don't have it on me for the time being. Of course, I can only reluctantly borrow the Taoist weapon now." This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. At this point, Wu Yu almost did not hesitate at all. He walked forward and wrapped the Hai Xi and Ling around Lupin's jade neck. Her fair skin matched with this aqua blue scarf can only be said to be the icing on the cake, making her look more moist and moving, which makes people anxious. She has top-notch means. Without refining Hai Xi and Ling, she can let Hai Xi and Ling release a soft halo and surround it, so that she is shrouded in a dreamy blue. It looks pretty good. If the back door of the main hall is closed, or if the spirit of all things wakes up, I will try to throw it out and give it back to you." Luo Bin's eyes were gentle, and she murmured, as if she was talking to herself, and then she was about to walk towards the single-sided soul-locking array that was close at hand. Wu Yu was still struggling. At this moment, when he focused all his attention on Luo Bin and the single-sided soul-locking array, suddenly, a very fierce and explosive hurricane came from behind. The fierce wind suddenly emerged, and when Wu Yu had no time to react, it suddenly hit Wu Yu's body, and in an instant, Wu Yu was knocked out. Although this wind was far from hurting him, the problem was that he was now standing right in front of the single-sided soul-locking array. Less than 4 feet away. Luo Bin was on the right side of Wu Yu, and was about to walk towards the single-sided soul-locking array. This sudden fierce wind directly knocked Wu Yu into the single-sided soul-locking array. When Wu Yu stood firm, the position of the single-sided soul-locking array seemed to be 1 foot behind him. If it were normal, this sudden strong wind would not pose any threat to Wu Yu, but at this moment, it could change the situation. On the contrary, Luo Bin was not knocked in. She was also hit by the storm, but was pushed to the side. An accident. It turned out that Wu Yu entered the courtyard of the back hall, and Luo Bin was knocked away. She was in a very bad condition now, so facing this sudden storm, she was directly blown out and fell to the ground, a full distance of several feet. Luo Bin's face changed drastically. She struggled to stand up quickly. She knew clearly that Wu Yu had passed through the single-sided soul-locking array. This result was unacceptable to him. The situation suddenly changed. Who did it? How could there be other people in this devouring demon ancestor? Wu Yu suddenly turned around, and Luo Bin also looked over. They saw Qin Fuwei, who was wearing a black and red long skirt, with a graceful figure, proud curves, and charming manner, fell to the ground with a smug smile on her face. Thank you both for your detailed explanation of this single-sided soul-locking formation. Of course, thank you for clearing the obstacles for me so that I can come here. Qin Fuwei smiled tenderly, and her face looked so proud. She looked at Luo Bin curiously and said, I didn't expect you to have such a noble identity, and you are actually a fairy beast dragon. It's really enviable. It's a pity that you seem to be dying. You are so beautiful and have a short life. Poor. Suddenly, the situation was completely passive. Obviously, Qin Fuwei followed Wu Yu and the others in, but she didn't know what means she used. Wu Yu and Luo Bin didn't find her, and she was lurking around for so long, and she almost knew Luo Bin's secret. However, in Wu Yu's impression, although Qin Fuwei was a little bit angry, she was not such a sinister person. He didn't care about so much and rushed out directly, but when he approached the single-sided soul-locking array, the effect of the single-sided soul-locking array was exerted, and it was really terrifying. Wu Yu just rushed up and felt as if he was hit by a heavy hammer. He flew out directly and vomited blood. He fell to the ground hard. The most terrifying thing was that after he fell to the ground, he was next to the black demon wolf spirit of all things. It was a close call. The spirit of all things did not wake up, he just turned over and continued to sleep. It was really creepy to fall next to this giant beast. Wu Yu quickly got up and quickly walked to the front of the single-sided soul-locking array. Qin Fuwei, why do you do this? What good will it do you? Wu Yu gnashed his teeth at her. Her behavior basically forced Wu Yu to the point of death. Today, 5 chapters will be released. /U003% /U003C/Sente. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 447. Qin Fuwei was blocking the gap in the wall at this time, obviously not wanting Luo Bin to enter the gap. Her purpose was to separate Wu Yu and Luo Bin. She lurked around the two of them, and upon hearing the effectiveness of the one-sided spirit locking array, she came up with such a plan. After pushing Wu Yu inside, she turned to face Wu Yu, her dark eyes completely fixed on Luo Bin, with a hint of hatred and a hint of jealousy, especially when she saw the blue color on her jade neck. Hi Xian Ling. Facing Wu Yu's question, Qin Fuwei cast a flirtatious look and said, what exactly do I want to do? It's not very obvious. Wu Yu, listen carefully, give me the key, and I won't send her to the west quickly, I don't have much patience. After entering the heaven-swallowing demon mansion, you can only leave with the key. With the key, you have the initiative. The key was on Wu Yu's body, and the formation was just a spirit-locking formation that only blocked living beings and nothing else. Therefore, Wu Yu could still throw the key to her. Wu Yu and Luo Bin both frowned. The most depressing thing is that she actually followed him in, and neither of them noticed it yet. Luo Bin is now at a critical moment of life and death, and her threat of Luo Bin's life is indeed very effective. Wu Yu was really angry with her. But behind him was the black demon wolf. The situation was critical. He said quickly, we didn't know you had come in. Why do you need to hide yourself? Just wait until we get the things and leave here together. Why do you use this method to rob key? This is where he gets confused. Qin Fui stared at Luo Bin, sneered, and said, "Who wants to leave with you? Besides, now that I know the identity of this dragon, she will definitely kill me if I show up." Unexpectedly, Luo Bin said, "I think too much. If I can recover, I won't care about you, a nobody." Qin Fujio laughed and said, "Oh, it is so majestic, a majestic fairy beast and a dragon, but you should think more about your current situation. I heard that you are about to die. Don't ask so many questions. Give me the key, otherwise, I will send her to the west early." She just did what she said. As he reached out, the storm surged, forming whirlwinds in his hands. There were sharp wind blades hidden in the whirlwinds, like magical swords, making sharp whistling sounds. Buzz. Qin Fui took action without saying a word. In an instant, the storm surged, and she rushed towards Luo Bin, completely sealing her in the storm, and then killed her in chaos. Dang dang dang. Harsh noises kept coming. It was difficult for Luo Bin to stand at first, and she needed Wu Yu to carry her. But now that she was attacked like this by Qin Fui, she was naturally overwhelmed in an instant. Fortunately, Wu Yu had given her the High Xian Ling before, so she controlled High Xian Ling skillfully. Seemed to be able to block the wind blade slightly, but it also caused a very strong impact. Although she was not killed at once, she would not be able to hold on for long if this continued. Qin Fui, Wu Yu's eyes turned blood red. As the saying goes, he knows people, faces but not hearts. He didn't expect Qin Fui to be such a person. I remember that when we first met, she often teased me and took good care of me in every aspect. Whenever you throw the key out, I will stop. I don't know how long she can hold on. Maybe in the next moment, I will chop off that mighty and domineering dragon head. Qin Fui. She smiled sweetly. As she spoke, she continued to use the mystical arts of heaven and earth, condensing more blades in the wind, thousands of them, so ferocious that they overwhelmingly killed Luo Bin. Looking at it, Hai Zinling's light on Luo Bin's body wavered and dimmed, and Qin Fui was definitely a ruthless person. Maybe, as she said, Luo Bin's head would be separated in the next moment. Qin Fui, I will take you out of here later without hurting you at all. Why is this necessary? Stop immediately, otherwise if I can get out, you will pay the price. Wu Yu was extremely angry and roared. At this time, he really wanted to slap her a few times. Unfortunately, even after Qin Fui heard this, she was still not afraid at all. She smiled sweetly and said, "Wu Yu, you are really good at scaring a little girl like me, but you'd better figure out who is begging whom now. You have to hurry up, otherwise if this beautiful fairy beast and dragon dies, you won't be able to cry in it for the rest of your life." She had already proven to Wu Yu that she was ruthless in doing things. There seems to be no room for negotiation regarding the key. Seeing that the violent wind blade was about to submerge Luo Bin, life and death were on a thin line. Wu Yu had no room for maneuver. Any hesitation could lead to Luo Bin's immediate death. He could only throw the key away. When the key was thrown out, it hit Qin Fuhuang directly. Wu Yu used a certain amount of force, so Qin Fuhuang had to stop and struggled to catch the key. Finally, the attack on Luo Bin stopped. When Qin Fui took the key, she couldn't help but laugh. She looked at Wu Yu, smiled a few times, and said, "It's so touching that a hero saves a beauty. Unfortunately, I hate this the most. After all, I am not the one who was saved." She still seemed unwilling to give up. Wu Yu's eyes were like fire, burning on her body. He said, "Enough is enough. If you continue to entangle yourself, it will do you no good. In other words, if you really have no bottom line today, as long as I don't die, there will always be times when you regret your decision today." Under his aggressive gaze, Qin Fui smiled strangely. At this time, Luo Bin had just recovered from the attack. She stared at Qin Fui and said indifferently, Wu Yu, what she wants is better than you can imagine. If there is more, the key should not be given to her. Leave me alone first and see if the back door of the main hall is open. Then try to bring me out. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Perhaps, as a woman, she understands the current Qin Fui better. Sure enough, after hearing Luo Bin's words, Qin Fui smiled and said, that's right. How can you, the majestic immortal beast and dragon, compete with me for this weapon? Throw that thing around your neck to me and say maybe I will spare your life. She even wanted Hai Xinling. Perhaps Hai Xinling is her real target. When he was in the underground palace, Wu Yu knew that she was obsessed with Hai Xinling, and it was also from then on that he had such strong hostility towards the two of them, and then took the opportunity to follow her. Now that he has found the opportunity, the key is the key to her getting out, but Hai Xinling is what she really wants. Luo Bin seemed to have expected it. She said, Wu Yu, she is more greedy than you think. Hai Xinling is just one of them. Now that I am at a low point in my life, when she hears about my identity, she will probably want everything from me. It's not just Hai Xinling. She took the key first to lock us both here forever. After Qin Fui heard this, she burst into laughter, bent over with laughter, and said while laughing, this fairy beast is smarter and seems to know me well. To be honest, if I don't cherish the opportunity to slay the dragon, I will definitely regret it in the future. You were so powerful before, how could you not have some decent treasures on you? This is really greedy. Even if Wu Yu gave her the key, she still wanted to seize this opportunity to kill them all. It was useless to say that Qin Fui was such a person and could hide it so deeply. Wu Yu found it quite incredible. But what is before us now is the fact. Wu Yu, there is only one chance. Take action. I can hold on here. How could I, my concubine, die at the hands of a mere Zifa cultivator? Luo Bin said sharply. Wu Yu figured it out. He really wanted to convince Qin Fui, but it would only be a waste of time. Although he was worried about Luo Bin, he had no choice but to see how long she could hold on. Good. He gave Qin Fui one last look, an angry and irritable look in his eyes. I believe Qin Fui would understand that she had completely angered Wu Yu. Wu Yu suddenly turned around. He was now in the corner of the courtyard. He had to rush to the back of the main hall to see whether the door was really closed. Life and death actually depend on this. Walk. He quickly passed by the black demon wolf and headed towards the center of the courtyard. Outside, Qin Fui was probably attacking with all her strength. She probably also sacrificed her magic weapon. Not only did she want to get everything on Luo Bin, but she also wanted to slay the dragon. This is her real purpose for taking such a risk today. We must race against time. Suddenly, my spine felt cold. As he was advancing, Wu Yu turned around in shock and saw that the black demon wolf, the god of all things, had stood up. He stood on all fours, arched his waist, stretched, and at the same time opened a pair of oil-green eyes. Opening it, Wu Yu was immediately scanned, and he was frozen for a moment. Then the next moment, his violent face was directly revealed. He roared and suddenly charged towards Wu Yu. Hearing this roaring sound, Qin Fui from outside could not help but smile again, and said delicately, "Oh, what a pity, you are not dead yet, your little man will have to die. That black demon wolf, no matter what, is better than isn't the green glow powerful." In the light of Hai Xinling, Luo Bin frowned. She naturally didn't want Wu Yu to lose his life for her. Now that she knew that he was fighting inside, imagining what he was like now, the heart that had not relaxed for many years, this moment was full of emotion. She was full, and even had tears in her eyes. She was once a dragon, but now she was forced to this extent by this little Zifa monk. She was so angry in her heart, but her biggest enemy now was not Xuanhuan, but the one in her body. The power of heavenly calamity. Wu Yu. Luo Bin suddenly felt that if he was working hard, then she had no reason to give up. No matter what, she could not let Xuanhui kill him. Just as she expected, Wu Yu could never be the opponent of this black demon wolf. No matter how much this black demon wolf breathed, it was a majestic hurricane. When he saw the demonic wolf, his first reaction was to directly activate the extra-legal clones, instantly split into 100 clones, hide his true body, and then disperse instantly, rushing in all directions. The situation is critical. /U003 /U003C/Sente. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 448. Wu Yu's mind is now filled with Xuanhui's proud smile. He has been tricked this time, and now there are many dangers. No matter how beautiful this woman is, he has certain murderous intentions now. Luo concubine is in danger now. But he is more dangerous. Because the gods of all things he faced were probably more powerful than those thousands of green lights. It was a pitch-black demon wolf. When he saw Wu Yu, he roared and rushed forward. The speed may not be slower than when the green light struck. Fortunately, Wu Yu directly divided into hundreds of clones, and tried to spread out as much as possible, so that the gods of all things do not find you in the first place. In the moment of life and death, even if he had just fought against Lu Mang, Wu Yu had no choice but to fight with all his strength at this time. The body holding technique. It was very effective to use it on green light before, so the first thing Wu Yu thought of now was the holding technique. However, the immobilization technique has its drawbacks. This time it was used, but it was not successful. In just an instant, the gods of all things had caught up with several of Wu Yu's clones, directly broke through the defense, and crushed Wu Yu as if they were crushed. The clone was torn to pieces. Xuanhui's proud smile came from outside. This woman is really disgusting. The Annihilation Beast soul-shaking technique. Wu Yu's body and clones instantly faced the black demonic wolf, and almost at the same time, they struck out with a violent punch. Each clone's fist had a fist shadow, and the fist shadow formed a huge torrent, transparent. Invisible to the naked eye, and then transformed, directly condensing giant beasts, hitting the black demon wolf one after another. Roar. The black demon wolf screamed in pain, and the sound shocked the entire sky-devouring demon mansion. But in fact, it seemed impossible to kill him. Even at this time, it still only hindered him slightly. The next moment, he continued to chase Wu Yu. The black demon wolf couldn't tell which one was Wu Yu's body, which was his clone, but he didn't seem to care at all, because he killed one by one on sight, and before long, more than 30 clones were slaughtered. The black demon wolf killed Wu Yu's clone as if it were chopping melons and vegetables. While Wu Yu was being pursued by life and death, he knew very well that Luo Bin, who was tortured to the point of dying by the catastrophe outside, was also forced into a desperate situation by Xuanhui. It was obvious that the time left for them was running out. Wu Yu only knew that all hope was based on whether the back door of the main hall was open. He rushed forward desperately, using his peak speed. For this speed, no matter how huge the courtyard was, it was actually limited. Of course, the black demon wolf was faster. When Wu Yu rushed between the main hall and the back hall, his more than 50 clones have been consumed. The rest only serves the purpose of delaying time. Their attacks are simply scratching the itch of the gods. Wu Yu looked nervously. The back door of the main hall is closed, but it is not confirmed whether the valve is closed, so you need to push it to find out. Of course he knew that he had to rush in as soon as possible. However, perhaps the gods of all things knew Wu Yu's purpose. He suddenly gave up attacking Wu Yu's clone and rushed to the back door of the main hall in an instant, completely blocking Wu Yu's path. After intercepting there, He actually looked at Wu Yu's body with eager eyes. It was obviously the actions of Wu Yu's body that made him suspicious. Wu Yu was in a state of shock. He quickly surrounded his clones to cover himself up. Now that the opponent was blocking him, he could only retreat while observing the surroundings for other signs of life. Looking back, I saw the back hall behind me. The back hall was quite small, but very shabby. It was incomparable with the front hall and the main hall. One of Wu Yu's clones saw that the door of the back hall was similar to the front hall and the main hall. The temple is different because it is completely open. Standing outside the door, you can literally see everything in the apse. It was also an empty place inside. Now that the black demon wolf is blocking the back door of the main hall, Wu Yu can only stay away for the time being. In fact, he has realized that his chances are running out. He sent a clone and rushed into the apse. He wanted to see if there was a hiding place in the apse. Of course, this was just a death struggle, and it was unlikely that the apse could save him. After all, the gods of all things were completely can go in. When a clone entered the back hall, Wu Yu accidentally discovered that the eyes of the black demon wolf seemed to have changed slightly. He seemed a little nervous. How could he be nervous? However, Wu Yu clearly saw this feeling, and the gods of all things became nervous. Wu Yu believed that since he was born here, he must be more familiar with the heaven-devouring demon mansion than he is, and maybe he has some connection with the heaven-devouring demon ancestor. How could he be so nervous? And, a little anxious. At this moment, he roared and rushed towards the side. In this dangerous situation, Wu Yu had no chance to hesitate anymore. He blocked part of his body in front of him and jointly used the Annihilation Beast soul shaking technique, while he tried his best to rush towards the apse. In an instant, in the meantime, almost all the clones were torn apart by the gods of all things, but Wu Yu successfully entered the back hall. The moment he entered the back hall, the black demon wolf was already very close to him. Just a little bit closer, but the black demon wolf suddenly backed away, not even daring to enter the apse. Because of this change, Wu Yu miraculously did not have to lose his life. When he got up from the ground, he was already covered in cold sweat. He was once again wandering on the edge of life and death. This path of cultivation is really difficult and dangerous. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Of course, every time such a moment, he will have a lot of insights. I don't know what the situation is outside. Whether Luo Ben will be killed or not, I can't see it now. I can only hear some faint sounds. In front of him was the black demon wolf. He was turning anxiously in front of the apse, staring at Wu Yu, but he didn't dare to come forward. There might be something in the back hall that makes him Whether it's a stronger god of all things or something else, I'll fight for it. Wu Yu stood up suddenly. Now his clone was almost exhausted and all turned into golden hair and returned to his body. He had almost no means to fight against the black demonic wolf. To be honest, since he is afraid of this place, it is a trap for the existence of stronger gods of all things. But there might also be something else that awed him. Therefore, Wu Yu stood up quickly. Time was urgent. He relied on the remaining clones and split up. There were many small rooms in the back hall. Let's go this way and have a look between life and death. Minglong stopped talking nonsense. She appeared in front of Wu Yu and showed him the way. It was obvious that she had vaguely discovered something. After walking through many small rooms, Wu Yu suddenly entered a small room. The small room was almost closed and very dark inside. Wu Yu saw at a glance that there was an egg placed on one of the countertops. Yes, it's about the size of an ostrich egg, and it's covered in a lot of dust, but it should look white. When Wu Yu saw this egg, he felt like his head was pounding. He remembered what Huang Yanwu said. Wu Yu only thought it was a dream. He never thought that it was true. There really is such an egg underground in Yanhuang ancient city. This is incredible. Wu Yu's heart was in turmoil. He really couldn't figure out what this could be. Even his fingers were trembling at this time, until Ming Long reminded him, "Don't think too much. The black demon wolf might be afraid of this thing. Take it away quickly and say maybe I can get to the main hall with it." "Good." Wu Yu responded loudly. He couldn't wait long until Luo Bin. He rushed up and hugged the white egg. To be honest, after touching the egg, Wu Yu really had a creepy feeling. When his palm touched it, at that moment, it was as if a whirlpool was about to swallow Wu Yu's entire body. But, in fact, it is not. It is just a feeling. If you feel it carefully, this egg seems to be very ordinary. But when it appears in the heaven-devouring demon mansion, it is definitely not ordinary. Wu Yu didn't care so much anymore, he just hugged the egg and rushed to the door of the back hall. At this time, the black demon wolf was turning anxiously and roaring madly from time to time. But when he saw Wu Yu holding the egg out, he was so frightened that he immediately ran away with his tail between his legs. Although he didn't escape far, he definitely made a way for Wu Yu. The road leading to the main hall. Fight! Wu Yu rushed out. Time does not allow for hesitation. He wants to make a bet now, and the bet is whether the back door of the main hall is closed. If it is closed, then even with this egg, he and Luo Bin are doomed. He can't live without the back hall, and Qin Fui will obviously kill him. The dead concubine, after robbing her things, ran out of the door. It was obviously Qin Fui who was suppressing Luo Bin, and Luo Bin could only resist at the last breath. Otherwise, even if there was a chance of resistance, Luo Bin would probably rush in from the gap to help Wu Yu. If Qin Fui wants to snatch her things, she must first seal the gap. Now, the black demon wolf was screaming violently next to him, but there were no thousands of attacks on Wu Yu. Wu Yu hugged the egg and rushed towards the back door of the main hall without saying a word. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the back door of the main hall. The black wolf behind him roared at him, but still did not come forward. Wu Yu felt more relieved. He held the egg in one hand and stretched out a hand. Golden veins suddenly appeared on the arm. Wu Yu roared. One sound, push hard, success or failure, all in this moment. Concubine Luo, you must hold on. All the suspense will be revealed at this moment. Wu Yu summoned up all his strength, roared, and pushed fiercely. Even the back door of the main hall was huge, and it roared for a while. Boom boom boom. Incredibly, he actually pushed the back door of the main hall. The place where the three-era killing formation sealed the heaven-devouring demon ancestor. With a rumble, a passage appeared that was large enough for Wu Yu to pass through. The years that had been sealed away for so long suddenly came to light again. Third update. The ancestor of the sky-swallowing demon, the chronicle of the sky-swallowing demon. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 449. Chapter 446 Primitive Dragon Scale. Wu Yu dodged and rushed into the main hall. The black demon wolf was wandering outside, growling. He didn't dare to enter the back hall, and it seemed that he didn't dare to enter the main hall either. So when Wu Yu entered the main hall, he should be safe. Of course, if there are gods of all things in the main hall, then it can only be said that Wu Yu and Luo Bin are really unlucky. After arriving at the main hall, he was a little nervous when he remembered that this was the place where the gods had banned and killed the devouring demon ancestor. It was even darker than the front hall, and there was a dead silence. There was also an ancient rotten smell in the air, which made people feel nauseous. Maybe it was a psychological effect, and there was even a feeling that someone was staring at him. Thinking that it might be the devouring demon ancestor who was not dead yet, it was even more creepy. Don't think too much. The devouring demon ancestor had died a long time ago. If he hadn't died, you would have died if you came in. Of course, you couldn't come in. Ming Long was not nervous, but looked around curiously. Yes. The most urgent task is to find Luo Bin's original dragon scale and get out. Wu Yu's eyes were blazing with fire, and even his whole body was surging with flames. For a moment, the blazing fire illuminated the entire huge main hall. He created a huge golden fireball and raised it to the sky. For a moment, it was like daytime here. Everything in the empty hall was clearly displayed in front of Wu Yu. The most conspicuous thing under his feet was an extremely complex magic array. Not only under his feet, but also on the surrounding walls and ceilings, almost everywhere, there were densely painted magic arrays. There was simply no complete place in the main hall. This is really worthy of being a magic array of immortals. Its precision and vastness are countless times more than all the magic arrays Wu Yu has seen. Too complicated, too mysterious. It's a pity that this magic array has completely lost its function, and now only the shell is left. Looking around, there is indeed no hair of the devouring demon ancestor. It can be imagined that the peerless evil demon should have died and disappeared under the erosion of hundreds of thousands of years. Even the things he left behind could not last too long and all turned into dust on the ground. If anything could be left, it would probably be the treasure of the dragon, the thing called the original dragon scale. In the dust on the ground, Wu Yu and the remaining clones searched quickly. In fact, it was not difficult to find. In a very short time, Wu Yu saw a palm-sized black dragon scale under his feet. The dragon scale was very old and worn, like an ordinary piece of iron, but the problem was that after more than 600,000 years, even the devouring demon ancestor had dissipated, but it still existed, which meant that it was definitely the original dragon scale that Luo Bin was looking for. Success! Wu Yu was extremely excited. Next, even if the door of the main hall could not be opened from the inside, he could throw the original dragon scale to Luo Bin from the gap. Qin Fu Hui. Wu Yu growled. He put the white egg into the sumuru bag, holding the original dragon scale in one hand, and then flew up on the sword. Now he didn't know the situation of Luo Bin, so he was naturally very anxious. He rushed to the center of the bronze gate, and there was a huge bolt in front of him. Through the crack of the door, when he found some movement outside, Wu Yu was very surprised. At least Luo Bin was still alive. As long as she was alive, everything was possible. At this moment, he did not hesitate to use the violent technique to make himself stronger. His muscles bulged, and the fairy ape also changed. He poured all his strength on the bolt. Open! A loud shout shocked the ancient and modern times. Another explosion, the bronze door trembled. At this time, Qin Fu Wei was still teasing Lupin. Now Lupin was forced into a corner by Qin Fu Wei. She was shrouded in a light blue light, but now the light was extremely dim and trembling violently. In the light, Lupin was already pale white and her eyes were extremely dim. In fact, the scary thing at this time was not Qin Fu Wei, but the power of the heavenly tribulation in her body, which had broken through all her defenses. Wu Yu seemed to be nice to you, but he was too stupid. Now that there is no sound behind him, he probably lost his life, and his flesh and blood body was probably eaten by the demon wolf. You killed him. Who told you to bring him in? You bitch, you look pretty, you were born a dragon, high up, really enviable, but unfortunately, even if you are a dragon, you still have to create me, and you still have to slaughter me. The dragon prisoner once said that he slaughtered a dragon, but today, I am the real slaughterer of a dragon. I want to take your dragon eyes, dragon teeth, and dragon tendons, let them see. Qin Fu Ying chattered non-stop, laughing and waving two folding fans. The fiery red folding fans set off a bursting wind, and the whole courtyard was submerged in her storm. The sharp storm was overwhelming, roaring continuously, rushing at Luo Bin's body. At this time, a large number of attacks had broken through Hai Xinling, leaving bloody wounds on Luo Bin's body. You've seen blood. You look so pitiful, Qin Fu Ying sneered. She was originally beautiful, but now her expression is particularly ferocious, so she looks a little ugly. Lupin glanced at her indifferently and said, "If you are so insidious and cunning, why do you need to practice the righteous way? The way of ghost cultivation should be more suitable for you." Qin Fuiying was stunned. She looked at Lupin in surprise, and then laughed again, saying, "You are worthy of being a dragon. You have a sharp eye and can even guess this. But, what I practice is the righteous way. What can you do to me?" She intensified her attack and sneered, "Forget it, Wu Yu is dead, and I am too lazy to waste time with you." This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. As she said that, the storm swept, condensed into thousands of blades, and rushed away violently, and in a blink of an eye, it was about to drown Luo Bin. Luo Bin frowned. She was probably sure that this wave of attacks could completely destroy her last resistance. "Do you want to give up?" Although she knew that she would die sooner or later, she was very unwilling to be killed by Qin Fuwei when she appeared at this time, compared to being directly destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. She couldn't help but look in the direction of Wu Yu. Did he persist until the last moment and didn't give up? The biggest regret in this life was to let Wu Yu follow her to take risks. She felt very uncomfortable because she lost her life here because of Qin Fuwei, and she could never forget the sunny boy who suddenly appeared. Boom! Incredible! At this moment, the bronze gate of the main hall shook violently. Under the shaking, a crack seemed to appear. In the crack, a golden figure suddenly shot out, tearing through the storm in an instant and rushing in front of Qin Fuwei. It was Wu Yu who had transformed into a fairy ape, holding the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, and had already used the violent technique, and the effect of the violent technique had not yet been used up. He suddenly appeared, violent as a demon, and suddenly appeared in front of Qin Fuwei. When Qin Fuwei was most shocked and had no time to react, he smashed it with a stick. The Yellow Emperor's earth-breaking formation was running. The golden light shone through the sky and earth, instantly suppressing the storm. In this blink of an eye, Qin Fuwei was completely suppressed. Of course, she saw clearly who was coming. At this moment, her heart was in chaos. In a hurry, she turned the countless wind blades and rushed towards Wu Yu to intercept. She was still in the third level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. At this time, she absolutely could not stop Wu Yu. At this time, Wu Yu was furious and had already locked her with a stick. When the stick fell, even if she used the folding fan to block it at the end, Wu Yu still hit her shoulder. Suddenly, half of Qin Fuwei's shoulder was almost smashed, and blood splattered. She screamed and fell to the ground fiercely, and the ground was full of blood for a while. A shrill scream. When she was injured by Wu Yu, the storm around her disappeared for a while, and Luo Bin was safe, but in fact she was not safe, because she was already at the end of her anger at this time, but when she saw Wu Yu at last, her eyes were actually dim to the extreme, as if she was finally relieved, so it was difficult for her to hold on. For her, being able to suddenly see Wu Yu rushing out of that place intact at this time was actually like a dream. At this moment, the angry and irritable boy also made her unforgettable in her life. After all, such a moment is too miraculous. She never thought that Wu Yu could still come out alive under the attack of the black demon wolf. Moreover, Luo Bin could see at a glance that he had what she needed most in his hand. That was the original dragon scale. When she saw the original dragon scale, Luo Bin couldn't help but smile. She knew that she finally had hope of survival, although it was not all her own efforts. Wu Yu nodded without saying anything and directly sent the original dragon scale to Luo Bin's hand. Luo Bin also moved swiftly. Almost before she was completely destroyed, she put the black dragon scale on the side of her jade neck. The original dragon scale was immediately embedded in it, as if it had become a part of her body. It can be seen that the direction of this piece of original dragon scale is opposite to the direction of the white dragon scale that appeared around it at this time. Wu Yu has heard that such an existence is called reverse scale. The reverse scale that Wu Yu gave her. At this moment, I am afraid that no one can stop Luo Bin's rebirth. Wu Yu, take the key back first. I need some time, Luo Bin said softly, and then sat cross-legged on the ground. Wu Yu didn't have to worry about her. Finally, he completed the task. Wu Yu breathed a sigh of relief. This time, during the trip to the Devouring Heaven Demon Mansion, his relationship with Luo Bin has improved many times. Although he hovered on the edge of life and death several times, he survived and he didn't regret it. At this time, he fell to the ground and looked at Qin Fu Wei, who was lying on the ground with cold eyes. Suddenly, he saw that Qin Fu Wei's eyes suddenly turned white, like two whirlpools, but they disappeared quickly. Today is Children's Day. In order to thank all the babies for their support for the Devouring Heaven record and the madman will pay for a small red envelope of 1,000 yuan at his own expense, and give everyone a small benefit through the way of answering questions on WeChat. The specific method is as follows. 1. Follow the madman's WeChat, Feng Qingyang. Search the official account Feng Qingyang on WeChat, or Su Feng Qinjiang 17K. 2. At 10 o'clock tonight, the madman will push a message with 5 questions in the message. 3. 5 questions, each with 5 200 yuan red envelopes. Open Alipay and find the red envelope option on the homepage. The answer to the question is the red envelope password. Enter the answer to receive the red envelope. Red envelopes are for those who read the book seriously. The questions are difficult. Attention! The passwords for the 5 red envelopes are the answers to the 5 questions. After you guess the answers, you can enter the answers in Alipay red envelopes. Remember, because the password has a word count requirement, you must add the 3 words the answer is in front of the password when entering it. For example, the question is who is the protagonist? Then you have to enter, the answer is Wu Yu. If you only write, Wu Yu, then the answer is invalid. This is very important. Everyone must remember to write the 3 words the answer is in front. Otherwise, even if the answer is correct, you cannot receive the red envelope. For example, the question is, where is the protagonist now? Then you need to enter the password, the answer is Tian Mofu. If you only enter Tian Mofu, it will not work. Remember, if everything goes well and no one makes trouble, the madman will post it several times. If it is posted once and someone can't grab it and sprays it, then I can't afford it. At 2200 hours in the evening, there will be 1 chapter updated. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 450. Chapter 446 Primitive Dragon Scale. Wu Yu dodged and rushed into the main hall. The black demon wolf was wandering outside, growling. He didn't dare to enter the back hall, and it seemed that he didn't dare to enter the main hall either. So when Wu Yu entered the main hall, he should be safe. Of course, if there are gods of all things in the main hall, then it can only be said that Wu Yu and Luo Bin are really unlucky. After arriving at the main hall, he was a little nervous when he remembered that this was the place where the gods had banned and killed the devouring demon ancestor. It was even darker than the front hall, and there was a dead silence. There was also an ancient rotten smell in the air, which made people feel nauseous. Maybe it was a psychological effect, and there was even a feeling that someone was staring at him. Thinking that it might be the devouring demon ancestor who was not dead yet, it was even more creepy. Don't think too much. The devouring demon ancestor had died a long time ago. If he hadn't died, you would have died if you came in. Of course, You couldn't come in. Ming Long was not nervous, but looked around curiously. Yes. The most urgent task is to find Luo Bin's original dragon scale and get out. Wu Yu's eyes were blazing with fire, and even his whole body was surging with flames. For a moment, the blazing fire illuminated the entire huge main hall. He created a huge golden fireball and raised it to the sky. For a moment, it was like daytime here. Everything in the empty hall was clearly displayed in front of Wu Yu. The most conspicuous thing under his feet was an extremely complex magic array. Not only under his feet, but also on the surrounding walls and ceilings, almost everywhere, there were densely painted magic arrays. There was simply no complete place in the main hall. This is really worthy of being a magic array of immortals. Its precision and vastness are countless times more than all the magic arrays Wu Yu has seen. Too complicated, too mysterious. It's a pity that this magic array has completely lost its function, and now only the shell is left. Looking around, there is indeed no hair of the devouring demon ancestor. It can be imagined that the peerless evil demon should have died and disappeared under the erosion of hundreds of thousands of years. Even the things he left behind could not last too long and all turned into dust on the ground. If anything could be left, it would probably be the treasure of the dragon, the thing called the original dragon scale. In the dust on the ground, Wu Yu and the remaining clones searched quickly. In fact, it was not difficult to find. In a very short time, Wu Yu saw a palm-sized black dragon scale under his feet. The dragon scale was very old and worn, like an ordinary piece of iron, but the problem was that after more than 600,000 years, even the devouring demon ancestor had dissipated, but it still existed, which meant that it was definitely the original dragon scale that Luo Bin was looking for. Success! Wu Yu was extremely excited. Next, even if the door of the main hall could not be opened from the inside, he could throw the original dragon scale to Luo Bin from the gap. Qin Fu Hui. Wu Yu growled. He put the white egg into the sumuru bag, holding the original dragon scale in one hand, and then flew up on the sword. Now he didn't know the situation of Luo Bin, so he was naturally very anxious. He rushed to the center of the bronze gate, and there was a huge bolt in front of him. Through the crack of the door, when he found some movement outside, Wu Yu was very surprised. At least Luo Bin was still alive. As long as she was alive, everything was possible. At this moment, he did not hesitate to use the violent technique to make himself stronger. His muscles bulged, and the fairy ape also changed. He poured all his strength on the bolt. Open! A loud shout shocked the ancient and modern times. Another explosion, the bronze door trembled. At this time, Qin Fu Wei was still teasing Lupin. Now Lupin was forced into a corner by Qin Fu Wei. She was shrouded in a light blue light, but now the light was extremely dim and trembling violently. In the light, Lupin was already pale white and her eyes were extremely dim. In fact, the scary thing at this time was not Qin Fu Wei, but the power of the heavenly tribulation in her body, which had broken through all her defenses. Wu Yu seemed to be nice to you, but he was too stupid. Now that there is no sound behind him, he probably lost his life, and his flesh and blood body was probably eaten by the demon wolf. You killed him. Who told you to bring him in? You bitch, you look pretty, you were born a dragon, high up, really enviable, but unfortunately, even if you are a dragon, you still have to create me, and you still have to slaughter me. The dragon prisoner once said that he slaughtered a dragon, but today, I am the real slaughterer of a dragon. I want to take your dragon eyes, dragon teeth, and dragon tendons, let them see. Qin Fuying chattered non-stop, laughing and waving two folding fans. The fiery red folding fans set off a bursting wind, and the whole courtyard was submerged in her storm. The sharp storm was overwhelming, roaring continuously, rushing at Luo Bin's body. At this time, a large number of attacks had broken through Hai Xinling, leaving bloody wounds on Luo Bin's body. You've seen blood. You look so pitiful, Qin Fuiying sneered. She was originally beautiful, but now her expression is particularly ferocious, so she looks a little ugly. Lupin glanced at her indifferently and said, if you are so insidious and cunning, why do you need to practice the righteous way? The way of ghost cultivation should be more suitable for you. Qin Fuiying was stunned. She looked at Lupin in surprise, and then laughed again, saying, you are worthy of being a dragon. You have a sharp eye and can even guess this. But, what I practice is the righteous way. What can you do to me? She intensified her attack and sneered, forget it, Wu Yu is dead, and I am too lazy to waste time with you. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. As she said that, the storm swept, condensed into thousands of blades, and rushed away violently, and in a blink of an eye, it was about to drown Luo Bin. Luo Bin frowned. She was probably sure that this wave of attacks could completely destroy her last resistance. Do you want to give up? Although she knew that she would die sooner or later, she was very unwilling to be killed by Qin Fuwei when she appeared at this time, compared to being directly destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. She couldn't help but look in the direction of Wu Yu. Did he persist until the last moment and didn't give up? The biggest regret in this life was to let Wu Yu follow her to take risks. She felt very uncomfortable because she lost her life here because of Qin Fuwei, and she could never forget the sunny boy who suddenly appeared. Boom! Incredible! At this moment, the bronze gate of the main hall shook violently. Under the shaking, a crack seemed to appear. In the crack, a golden figure suddenly shot out, tearing through the storm in an instant and rushing in front of Qin Fuwei. It was Wu Yu who had transformed into a fairy ape, holding the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, and had already used the violent technique, and the effect of the violent technique had not yet been used up. He suddenly appeared, violent as a demon, and suddenly appeared in front of Qin Fuwei. When Qin Fuwei was most shocked and had no time to react, he smashed it with a stick. The Yellow Emperor's earth-breaking formation was running. The golden light shone through the sky and earth, instantly suppressing the storm. In this blink of an eye, Qin Fuwei was completely suppressed. Of course, she saw clearly who was coming. At this moment, her heart was in chaos. In a hurry, she turned the countless wind blades and rushed towards Wu Yu to intercept. She was still in the third level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. At this time, she absolutely could not stop Wu Yu. At this time, Wu Yu was furious and had already locked her with a stick. When the stick fell, even if she used the folding fan to block it at the end, Wu Yu still hit her shoulder. Suddenly, half of Qin Fuwei's shoulder was almost smashed, and blood splattered. She screamed and fell to the ground fiercely, and the ground was full of blood for a while. A shrill scream. When she was injured by Wu Yu, the storm around her disappeared for a while, and Luo Bin was safe, but in fact she was not safe, because she was already at the end of her anger at this time, but when she saw Wu Yu at last, her eyes were actually dim to the extreme, as if she was finally relieved, so it was difficult for her to hold on. For her, being able to suddenly see Wu Yu rushing out of that place intact at this time was actually like a dream. At this moment, the angry and irritable boy also made her unforgettable in her life. After all, such a moment is too miraculous. She never thought that Wu Yu could still come out alive under the attack of the Black Demon Wolf. Moreover, Luo Bin could see at a glance that he had what she needed most in his hand. That was the original dragon scale. When she saw the original dragon scale, Luo Bin couldn't help but smile. She knew that she finally had hope of survival, although it was not all her own efforts. Wu Yu nodded without saying anything and directly sent the original dragon scale to Luo Bin's hand. Luo Bin also moved swiftly. Almost before she was completely destroyed, she put the black dragon scale on the side of her jade neck. The original dragon scale was immediately embedded in it, as if it had become a part of her body. It can be seen that the direction of this piece of original dragon scale is opposite to the direction of the white dragon scale that appeared around it at this time. Wu Yu has heard that such an existence is called reverse scale. The reverse scale that Wu Yu gave her. At this moment, I am afraid that no one can stop Luo Bin's rebirth. Wu Yu, take the key back first. I need some time, Luo Bin said softly, and then sat cross-legged on the ground. Wu Yu didn't have to worry about her. Finally, he completed the task. Wu Yu breathed a sigh of relief. This time, during the trip to the Devouring Heaven Demon Mansion, his relationship with Luo Bin has improved many times. Although he hovered on the edge of life and death several times, he survived and he didn't regret it. At this time, he fell to the ground and looked coldly at Qin Fuwei, who was lying on the ground. Suddenly, he saw that Qin Fuwei's eyes suddenly turned white, like two whirlpools, but they disappeared quickly. Today is Children's Day. In order to thank all the babies for their support for the Devouring Heaven record and the madman will pay for a small red envelope of 1,000 yuan at his own expense, and give everyone a small benefit through the way of answering questions on WeChat. The specific method is as follows. 1. Follow the madman's WeChat, Feng Qingyang. Search the WeChat public account Feng Qingyang, or Su Feng Qinjiang. 2. At 10 o'clock tonight, the madman will push a message with 5 questions in the message. 3. 5 questions, each with 5 200 yuan red envelopes. Open Alipay and find the red envelope option on the homepage. The answer to the question is the red envelope password. Enter the answer to receive the red envelope. Red envelopes are for those who are serious. The questions are difficult. Attention! The passwords for the 5 red envelopes are the answers to the 5 questions. After you guess the answers, you can enter the answers in Alipay red envelopes. Remember, because the password has a word count requirement, you must add the 3 words the answer is in front of it when entering the password. For example, the question is who is the protagonist? Then you have to enter, the answer is Wu Yu. If you only write, Wu Yu, then the answer is invalid. This is very important. Everyone must remember to write the 3 words the answer is in front. Otherwise, even if the answer is correct, you cannot receive the red envelope. For example, the question is, where is the protagonist now? Then you have to enter the password, the answer is Tian Mofu. If you only enter Tian Mofu, it will not work. Remember, if everything goes well and no one makes trouble, the madman will post it several times. If it is posted once and someone can't grab it and sprays it, then I can't afford it. At 2200 hours in the evening, there will be one chapter updated. /U003% /U003C/Sente. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 451. Wu Yu. Qin Fui's body was covered in blood and her expression was very painful. The power of Wu Yu's stick hit her delicate body roughly. She was not as strong as Li Kahai to withstand it, and now she could only grin in pain. She still wanted to stand up, but Wu Yu's Yanhuang Optimus Prime pressed directly on her chest. The heavy force made Qin Fui breathless. Maybe she felt Wu Yu's murderous intention. She was panicked, but her face softened. To please, he said, Wu Yu, don't do anything. I know I was wrong. I was too greedy. You are a man, so don't care about a little girl like me, okay? This stick is enough punishment for me. In a delicate voice, she begged Wu Yu for forgiveness. Wu Yu really wanted to think about whether to kill her directly. At first, Qin Fuyu had a very good impression in his heart, but he just didn't quite understand why she seemed to be a different person after entering here. Now Luo Bin is recovering with the help of original dragon scales. If we kill her, we leave the sky-swallowing demon mansion. I wonder if the city lord will be outside. It will be difficult to explain Qin Fuyu's whereabouts. After all, She is from Yanhuang Emperor City. If I don't kill her, it will be hard to get rid of this hatred. She almost caused me and Luo Bin to die here. Wu Yu wanted to take revenge. It was difficult for him to be polite to those who wanted his life. When he was ignorant, he killed the 9 immortals. Although he still had a place for her in his heart, it was strange. Thrilling feelings, but he has no regrets. Although Qin Fuyu is more noble, more beautiful, and more attractive, in Wu Yu's heart, she is far from comparable to the 9 immortals, so he will never dare to take action just because she is beautiful and sexy. When Qin Fuyu begged for mercy, his murderous intention was actually even stronger, because it made him feel that this woman was good at falling out and scheming. If he didn't kill her today, she would bring him big trouble sooner or later with this hatred. Therefore, his eyes were cold. Although Qin Fuyu begged for mercy, he still had no mercy. No. Wu Yu, I will return the key to you immediately. I will let you do whatever you want. I will never dare to go against you again, Wu Yu, my good brother. Qin Fuyu cried with tears all over her face. She really reached out and groped on the sumuru bag. Wu Yu was ready to get the key first, and then send her back to the west. Suddenly. Go to hell. Qin Fuyu's expression suddenly changed, becoming fierce and vicious. What she took out from the sumuru bag was not the key, but a piece of talisman. The moment she took it out, she activated the talisman, and immediately, a thick black smoke quickly surrounded Wu Yu. The ghost-haunting talisman, Wu Yu, now you are really doomed. After Qin Fuyu activated the talisman, she got up with a cold smile. When she saw Wu Yu being entangled, she looked at Luo Bin again. At this time, Luo Bin was completely surrounded by a kind of blue light. Qin Fuyu thought that it would be difficult to kill Luo Bin at this time, so she ran away directly, rushed into the front hall in a blink of an eye, and then rushed out from the other side of the front hall. Many interesting novels. Although she was seriously injured by Wu Yu at this moment, she could still escape. A couple of bitches. Life is so tough. However, you dare to go against me and steal my Taoist weapon. I will let you stay together in this heaven-swallowing demon mansion. Let's see how long you can hold on. She has reason to be so arrogant. As expected, Wu Yu still underestimated the power of women, especially a very scheming and beautiful woman like Qin Fuyu. When he was about to get the key, he didn't expect that Qin Fuyu would dare to do so in this situation. Come on. The key is that what she sacrificed was the talisman of a ghost cultivator. Monks are prohibited from using ghost cultivating talismans. Ghost cultivating talismans are rarely transferred to cultivators, especially the ghost haunting talisman. For Wu Yu, at the moment when the rune triggered, a subdued ghost suddenly broke into his body. This is haunted by ghosts. This is not a simple injustice soul, but the ghost cultivator used cruel methods to kill tens of thousands of people, take their souls, lock them in an area, and let them fight. The last one alive has absorbed the resentment of tens of thousands of injustice souls, and can becoming a Fugui. Fugui's ability to possess is quite powerful. Basically, if you are at the Centurion level and are haunted by this ghost, you will definitely die, so this talisman can be sold at a very high price even in the ghost cultivation world. Visualize the mind ape. Wu Yu's soul felt a sharp sting, and the Fugui was attacking and killing him. However, he reacted quickly and visualized the mental ape in the blink of an eye. At this moment, his mind was immersed in the world of the mental ape, and the Fugui also brought in here. Call. In that blazing fire, the unparalleled Monkey King was burning, domineering and unparalleled. Fugui came here, just looked at it, howled in pain, and was burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. This talisman has a great effect on other people, but it has little effect on Wu Yu. As soon as Fugui died, Wu Yu just felt a sting in his head. He quickly reacted and saw Qin Fuyu had escaped. At this time, he couldn't care about anything but chase after her. I was tricked by this woman again, Wu Yu was really trembling with anger. This was the first time that he was tricked by a woman twice in a row. First he was pushed into the back hall, and now he was escaped again. When he rushed through the front hall, Qin Fuyu had already unlocked the key and sank into the ground. When Wu Yu came outside the front hall and left the sky-devouring demon mansion, he suddenly saw the golden light flashing in front of him. In that golden light, Qin Fuyu had fallen into it, and the golden light began to dim. There is still some distance between here and there. Wu Yu, you just can't do anything to me. Enjoy your nightmare-like time here. Qin Fuyu giggled and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Finally, I'll tell you, my real name is Tianhai Yufwiu. After saying the last word, Wu Yu just rushed here, but unfortunately, the golden light had almost disappeared. When Wu Yu jumped into that area, the key happened to be invalid. He arrived a step too late, and the entire sky-devouring demon mansion suddenly went dark. Tianhai Jade Lady, Wu Yu was startled. What the hell is this thing? Does she have other names? He actually let her escape with the key. Thinking about it carefully, this was a big trouble. Not only was he unable to take revenge, but he was also locked up in the heaven-swallowing demon mansion. It was very likely that he and Luo Bin would be trapped here forever until they died. However, Wu Yu calmed down. Standing in front of the heaven-swallowing demon mansion, he thought, although I don't have the key, if Luo Bin's key is restored, with her ability, she might be able to get out. She also said before that if she doesn't have the key, she will forcefully destroy this place to get in, but it makes a lot of noise, but if you go out, you won't care about the noise. As for Qin Fuyu, after I get out, I'll settle the score with her. For Wu Yu, this matter is far from over. But why did she tell me that her real name is Tianhai Yufwiu? With doubts in mind, Wu Yu returned to the main hall. At this time, Luo Bin seemed to be bathing in an ocean. Her face looked much better. She must have struggled from the edge of death. It was probably just a few steps before she returned to her peak state. Time. Did she escape? Luo Bin asked softly. Wu Yu nodded and said, yes. Luo Bin said, don't worry, after I recover for a while, I should be able to break out of here and won't be trapped for too long. In this case, Wu Yu felt more relieved. He thought for a moment and asked, why did she tell me that her real name is Tianhai Yufwiu? Luo Bin closed her eyes. In the ocean, her delicate body was like a dream, making it impossible to look away. She said, you haven't figured it out yet. This is indeed her real name. She is a ghost cultivator Yanhuangdi and arranged an undercover agent in Yanhuang Emperor City. What? Wu Yu was surprised. However, it seems that Luo Bin is not talking nonsense. After all, Qin Fuyu became a little strange after coming in here, and she did use the ghost cultivator's talisman just now. But the problem is that what she cultivates is indeed the right way. Apart from the talisman, there is nothing about ghost cultivation on her body. But if you think about it carefully, if she practiced the way of ghost cultivation, how could she sneak into the Yanhuang Emperor City? Wu Yu understood. He suddenly realized and said, I see, I heard that her previous sect was destroyed by ghost cultivators, and she was adopted by General Qin. In fact, it is probably that ghost cultivators destroyed the Kamikaze Dao sect, and then put her young there. After all, she can say that she is the only survivor. At least General Qin and the others have never really seen the appearance of the daughter of the leader of the Kamikaze Dao sect, but they don't know that the spy who was led by Gaixiu has been trained since childhood in order to be an undercover agent. Just practice the right way. Thinking of Qin Fuwei's life experience, it is indeed very possible that this is the case. This kind of background is easiest for ghost cultivators to control. Anyway, the Kamikaze Taoist sect was destroyed. Who knows that Qin Fuwei is not real? Actually, The last time we went to Yangtze City, she was the first to take the mission. In fact, this mission was just a connection between the ghost cultivator and her. However, you killed the opponent too quickly and ran to her in order to cover up identity. Do you still remember that she asked you to kill her counterpart? At that time, I felt a little strange. Wu Yu was startled. Luo Bin was right. Wu Yu recalled the details of the mission in Yangtze City. At first he said it was a demon, but then he found out that it was a ghost cultivator. It was probably arranged by the ghost cultivator. After all, this was the only one Qin Fuyu had contact with. Chance, in Yanhuang Emperor City, she did not dare to use the communication talisman to communicate with ghost cultivators. He has lived in Yanhuang Emperor City since he was a child and has become a popular genius here. Unexpectedly, he is an undercover agent of the Palace of Hell in the East China Sea. This is really terrible. No wonder Qin Fuyu and the Shenzhou woman have slightly different looks, with a hint of the exotic style of the four Dongyang Islands. However, she was so hidden that not even the Lord of Yanhuang City knew about it. If she hadn't said her name was Tianhai Yufu, Wu Yu wouldn't have believed it was true. This is the name of the ghost cultivator. Now, it suddenly dawned on me. However, there was no way to let her escape. Take care of her after we go out, Wu Yu said, and then asked, when can we go out? Luo Bin hesitated for a moment and said, I'm not sure. I was injured too seriously. It may take 2 years. 2 years. Wu Yu was a little worried that he would not be able to make the appointment in Shushan. Chapter 5. Updated in advance. Everyone, remember that at 2200 hours, the WeChat public account will give you a big red envelope of 1000 yuan for Children's Day. All children can answer questions and answer questions. Remember that the answer is 3 words before the password. Open Alipay, select the red envelope and enter the password. Book friends who want to read the latest chapter of this book, please click here or visit on your mobile phone.